Hi everyone, thank you for your attendance. I'm going to present this paper that basically is a research that we base on the assumption that the diagnostic knowledge that we need, for example, in research that are related with medical diagnosis, the criteria that that physicians normally use to know what a condition has a patient, if, for example, has some disease or any other disease, is normally based on the symptoms, signs, and the results of a specific test. If we are working on this field, the problem is that we don't have normally public data sets with this information. For example, if you want to know, for example, the symptoms of influenza, of the symptoms of any disease, it's very difficult to find a concrete database that we can automatically get all this data. So based on this assumption, we have proposed a NLP-based approach to mine this information from MedlinePlus, from the articles about any disease in MedlinePlus. Concretely, we have focused our effort on infectious diseases because normally infectious disease has a very high number of symptoms. And well, the rationale is I have this quote that I have explained that clinical decision support systems necessitates this diagnostic knowledge to work. So we need to know if a disease is the diagnosis of a concrete patient. We need this information to make a diagnosis. So we have checked if there are some databases that have this data. We have checked, for example, very common ontology like HPO, OMIN database, UMLS, and we have information, clinical information. We have clinical entities, but we don't have this relationship between a disease and the symptoms or the signs or the results of a laboratory test or a diagnostic test to know if a disease can be diagnosed. So textual databases like MedlinePlus or CDC are very useful, but we have this problem that we need to go to read. A human needs to go to read and get the information manually, because at the end it's expressed in natural language expressions. So a machine cannot take this knowledge automatically. In this context, current works that are focused on applying NLP techniques to medicine or clinical stuff are not focused on getting these diagnostic criteria. They are focused on any other parameters, but not in getting this information. So we have read these papers, and we saw that most of these papers focus the extraction of information using these NLP-based techniques, and concretely, most of them use MetaMap and CTEX, that are two frameworks. One is has been developed by National Institute of Health in the United States, and the other CTEX has been developed by Clinica Mayo. So we propose this architecture to get this information, and basically we divide the process in two separate steps. The first one is to get the information from the web page. We use a crawler to get the HTML from the URL. We get the text, we remove all the HTML data, and we have sentences or paragraphs describing a disease and the symptoms and all the information. So we have this medical test. After that, we apply MetaMap. MetaMap performs the natural language processing process. Completely, we use MetaMap using as corpus as SNOMED CT. And at the beginning, we thought that this should be enough. We have applied MetaMap. In MetaMap, we establish the semantic types that we need, symptoms or signs, laboratory tests, the entities that normally we are interested, that are these symptoms, signs, diagnostic tests, etc. But the reality is that we saw that there are some values or some entities that are classified as findings. For example, red. The color red is classified as a finding. It's not a finding. It's an adjective that is modifying, for example, in the case of a symptom like red lymph nodes. Okay, so this red has some sense, but it's not correctly classified by MetaMap filter. To solve the problematic that that appears in this case from the MetaMap filter, we developed a parallel process that takes information from other medical sources, takes entities. It's like an additional corpus to use. And the idea is, once we execute the MetaMap filter, we have the list of annotated medical terms. We get another list of medical terms from these sources, and we perform the validation. The sources are divided basically in three types. The first one is like most representative medical terms. We use some vocabularies, taxonomies that are validated by international communities like ICD, MES, or any other any other vocabularies that are recognized. This is the first approach, and this is the most important, because if we find a match in these vocabularies, we can be sure that we are doing the things okay, and that this element is a real clinical element. The second type of source are, for example, ontologies developed by research teams in universities or whatever, that are uploaded to Bioportal, because all the information that we get is basically from Bioportal. And these are ontologies that, for example, a research team has developed about, I don't know, maybe a concrete disease or a concrete research field, and has the information. And finally, we use a third type of source that is collaborative, and we use Wikipedia and Freebase. This is the less reliable type of source, because this is collaborative. Wikipedia can be modified by anyone, and we didn't trust as much as should be give credibility, but we use it because we need an optional approach if the first two fails. So once we get these validation medical terms, and once we have this list of annotated medical terms that we get from the NLP, we perform this process that is the validation process, is the term validation procedure. It is normally we try to validate first using the CUI. The CUI is the concept unique identifier that UMLS provides for a clinical concept. So if we have a concept in our NLP approach, and we have the same concept with the same CUI in our validation list, we know that this is a valid concept directly. If not, we try to make directly a string matching with equals if both strings are the same after executing some pre-processing filters, strings. And finally, if it didn't work, if we don't have a validation via equals, we use a similarity validation using level extent distance, completely with a threshold of 0.8 that we see that is the most reliable value. After that, after this validation, we have finally the list of final diagnostic terms that are the information that we were seeking. The evaluation to see if this approach was good or not good was basically a manual identification of clinical findings. We go to the, for example, leptospirosis page of in MedlinePlus. We read the text and we annotate manually all the terms that it is supposed that our process should retrieve. And we compare basically with the results of our approach. With these results, with this evaluation, we have these results, and we have good precision values. The F1 score that is normally used in this kind of techniques is not so bad. We have a low recall, basically because we have some, we see some drawbacks in our approach, like for example, some terms that are found by the NLP, but are not in our validation list and should be, like for example, the acronyms. Acronyms of our procedure. If we have a magnetic resonance image and we have MRI, this is not validated because it can find a match directly because it's not expanded the acronym. As conclusions and future work, the developed prototype, we think that it's accurate enough to be used, but it can be improved. Some improves that we want to do is, for example, use Apache FTX instead of MetaMap to see if the NLP process itself can be improved. We want to also improve the validation terms, for example, to include these acronyms that are not now in our list. And also we want to improve the NLP process, because now we are just executing the NLP and getting the results without going to depth to see, for example, if this red that I mentioned before can be more analyzed and can be considered as part of a more complex finding. I would like to thank all the members that have been involved in this work from Technical University of Madrid, from my group in CPGP and CTV Center also, some of the authors, and from INEDIR in Universidad de Colombia. Thank you very much.
Questions? No questions. So I have one question. Do you are projecting to include your pipeline as a API for a more complex application,
yeah,
or end user application?
In fact, the idea of this, well, one thing that I didn't mention is that we have all the source code available. It's on the paper, so you can go to GitHub and see all the source. And our idea is trying to improve a bit more this process, because the problem is that MetaMap NLP process is a separate packages that if you want to execute it like creating an API will be very difficult. So if we can externalize this NLP process, it could be a good idea, and in fact we want to do it. It's like to create a NLP based API for getting diagnostic knowledge. That would be a very, very future work.
And a more specific question, in your results regarding the recall precision, what is the balance between positive and negative terms? I think positives are very...
I can show you in fact something about that, because I have here the results, the Excel file with the results. We can see, for example, one of the diseases, to see the more or less, you can see here all the data. In fact, this data is also published. It's not on the paper, but we have a link to the raw results. And we have, for example, all the values to the true positive, true negative, false positive, false negative. We have also a false negative that we mentioned as by validation, because it's a concrete case. And here, well, you can see that the numbers are very low, because in fact we don't have too much data. When we extract the information from the web page for a single disease, finally you get, for example, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 symptoms in total. So there are not too much data.
But the negatives, I think that the true negatives are those words that are not symptoms nor signs.
In this case,
so I think this group will be big. But I don't know.
Well, the problem is that no, these are completely discarded, because the MetaMap is focused on getting only those terms that are supposed to be medical terms.
Okay.
The problem is when it recognizes as a medical term, for example, this red that is supposed that is not a medical term, it's not a finding. And this is because in the MetaMap process, when you execute the MetaMap process, you directly specify only the semantic types that you want. So you are saying, okay, I only want symptoms, I only want disease words. In fact, it's an entity name recognition process. It's not too far. And this is the reason, because some other words are not taken into account in this case.
Thank you.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned the concept extraction units. Is that some off-the-shelf tools, or you developed your own?
Sorry, the concept extraction?
You were talking some part about a module that will extract a concept from a text.
Yeah, but it's not. This is the MetaMap itself. It's the MetaMap. Now we are using MetaMap, that is an NLP tool that is completely focused on medicine, on extracting medical terms.
So MetaMap is the tool you're working.
It's the tool that I'm using.
Oh,
It's the
you're
tool that
using.
yeah, I'm using.
So it's specific for medical vocabulary?
Yeah, MetaMap is specific for in fact, MetaMap as default use UMLS set of terminologies, and UMLS has a lot of terminologies, and we completely use SNOMED-CT because SNOMED-CT is the largest vocabulary in medical terms that we can use, but you can change it. In fact, you can establish your own corpus.
Oh, I see. That's good.
Yeah, but SNOMED-CT is the most used, so it's the most used, so this is the reason. And another one that can be used is Apache CTEX. That is the one that we want to try in the future. But Apache CTEX is very difficult to execute, so we are still working on it. Thank you.
Okay.